Let's get it. Am I on? Oh, I'm on the air. Pardon me while I get a little coffee. It's Saturday afternoon here in Alabama. Most of our snow is melted away. Our roads are fine. I've been out and about, so it's just cold. But the weather event is pretty much come and gone. As you look around me, this channel is kind of a work in progress in terms of how I present it, because what's happened is we've got 3 bedrooms in our house, and long ago Marina took the second bedroom because it's just us. We don't have any kids here or anything, and she turned that into her office. And so this back bedroom where I am now, we did have a bed in it, but we took it out because we don't really have company that much. But, you know, if we have grandkids come by, we can get an air mattress or whatever. But I decided to kind of, since it's not really being used, I decided to turn it into a somewhat of a studio, a makeshift studio, and that's what I'm in the process of doing. Before this, it's kind of been a junk room that she never came into. It was embarrassing how bad it was. But we were going to buy a storage shed. I think I told you that story, and we just decided, well, instead of getting a storage shed, let's just buy another cargo trailer, which we did. That's another video. You've seen that probably. And we kind of use that as a storage shed / backup cargo trailer if it's needed. So all morning this morning, I've been kind of cleaning this room out and taking a lot of things that didn't need to be in a house out to the cargo trailer / storage shed. I've been cleaning it up. So you're going to see a bit of a transformation as time goes on. There's nothing behind me now but a wall, but that's about to change. There's going to be some things behind me, and we're going to kind of try and dress it up and make it a little more appropriate as a studio where I can film the shows, unless, of course, I'm out in the field. When I first started my channel, just a personal note here, some little inside baseball. When I first started my channel, my whole intention was basically to use it as just kind of like a, not so much a diary, but a photo album, video style, where I would just video the places I went, and it would be there for posterity, because it's long been a dream of mine to retire and travel. That's still what I want to do. And I do that occasionally on the channel. When I go camping, I'll shoot video and I'll put that up on my channel, and I'll still do that. We're not camping right now because it's too cold. But things changed. I'll never forget, I guess it's been a couple of years now, on a Sunday when I was just sitting on my deck in my bathrobe with a cup of coffee, and I was really mulling over the situation with Gonzalo Lira, and I made that video, and my channel, just relatively speaking, exploded. And before you knew it, I had thousands of subscribers, and that was fine with me. And then I was on the Duran, and that really caused more growth. So, and I appreciate that very much. And a lot of you have hung in there with me since that time, and I genuinely appreciate it. So I want to present some good content for you in as a professional manner as I can. Now, I am not technical at all. I am not a geek, never have been. I know how to plug stuff up, but I don't have a lot of expensive camera gear and multi-cameras and things like that. I'm shooting this with my iPhone, for heaven's sakes. I do have some special lighting and whatnot. So I don't know how much more extravagant we're going to get in terms of production quality. Probably not that much, because I do very little. I do a little bit of editing, but not a whole lot. But anyway, we're going to dress it up and make it look better for the days ahead. All right, there's a couple of important things I want to talk about, and then I want to share with you a strange story, which I thought the first time I heard it was funny, but it turns out to be true, so it's not so funny because it kind of had a bad ending. And then I do want to share a funny with you that I came across that really resonates with me, and I want to share it with you. Maybe a little more lighthearted since it's the weekend, I don't know, but let me start out with something that's not so funny. And of course, I'm talking about the California fires, which apparently are still raging. I talked about this at length yesterday, and this is basically just the result of mismanagement as far as I'm concerned, where you have a little Marxist like Karen Bass and these socialist, left-wing, leftist people in total control, total political control in California, and you see the end result of their policies, which are completely backwards, and it winds up getting people hurt and even killed because they don't know what they're talking about. They're rank amateurs in positions of authority with a lot of money that they're administrating, and they divert it to all the wrong places. Instead of giving money to, let's say, the fire department, instead we're going to give it to the gay men's chorus. I mean, this is just utter lunacy, folks. It's completely backwards. There's a man who is on Twitter, X. I don't know who he is. His name is Brian J. Karem, Karem, and I just ran across this on Twitter. I still call it Twitter. I don't like X. But this is what he posted. This is Brian Karem's solution. I read enough of his wall to understand that he's a left-wing nut job and he loathes Donald Trump. That much I can tell you. So here is his solution for what's happening in California. Get this. He said this, quote, "Hey, here's an idea. Let the 11 billionaires nominated for the incoming cabinet who have successfully paid very little in taxes donate $50 billion to help rebuild Southern California. Divide it amongst yourselves," unquote. So this is Brian Karem's solution for what's ailing California right now. Let the 11 billionaires nominated for the incoming cabinet who have successfully paid very little in taxes. Well, how does he know that? And how does he know that we have 11 billionaires coming into the cabinet? We may have, I don't know. But he says it in such a way that he wants to demonize success. This is a typical leftist. They're preoccupied with how much money somebody else has got. I say, why not have highly successful business people in your cabinet? Doesn't that kind of make sense? If I hear about John Brown has become a billionaire, I say to John Brown, congratulations, buddy, good for you. I have long maintained that envy is at the root of all left-wing thinking. That's where liberalism grows, the current day form of liberalism. It's like their hotbed. My dad used to have tomatoes in a hotbed, and it's envy that's in the soil of their hearts and of their minds. They just can't stand the idea that there's somebody out there that may have a little bit more than they have. And if they are one of these evil billionaires, well, Lord knows they had to come by that wealth by crooked means. Well, I don't feel that way at all. Isn't that the American dream? To go out and apply yourself and be industrious and work hard and expect a return on your investments? I applaud successful people. That's what it's all about. If that's what you want to do, congratulations. I don't demonize or feel badly about people who have achieved success. Donald Trump is a multi-billionaire, and good for him. Who wants some loser in office as leadership? I mean, I heard one guy, I think he was in a comedy routine, he was saying, "Hey, man, my surgeon, he's driving a brand new Mercedes-Benz." And the other guy said, "Well, so what? He ought to be driving a Mercedes-Benz. What do you want him driving, a Ford Pinto?" You might question how good your surgeon is if he's driving a Ford Pinto. I mean, that's kind of, they work for it. They earn these things. There's nothing wrong with that. I know there's people that come by things dishonestly, but I'm not talking about that. But he said, let these 11 billionaires that are coming into the administration, let them donate $50 billion to rebuild Southern California. To which Viva Fry replied. Does anybody know who Viva Fry is? If you don't know, you should look him up. Viva Fry and Robert Barnes. They have a channel out there in YouTube land, and I think they're on Rumble as well. Viva, V-I-V-A, Fry, F-R-E-I. He has impressive hair, let me tell you that. Viva is a great guy. He's a Canadian. And Viva... he's an attorney. I think he lives in Florida now. I wish I was in Florida right now. But Viva Fry replied to Brian Karem saying this, quote, "Let me make sure I understand this proposal because it is in fact too stupid for words. Your proposal is that billionaires who were not responsible for the cataclysmic disaster use their funds to pay for the consequences of the egregious incompetence and corruption of the current government? Is that what you're saying, Brian? Because if it is, you are literally too stupid to insult," unquote. Bravo, Viva Fry. Bravo, Viva Fry. So in other words, Brian's idea is to punish and demonize and penalize and fine and tax people who had nothing whatsoever to do with these catastrophic California fires. Yeah, go get those evil people, those evil billionaires. Go get their money, make them pay for this. What sense does that make? If you want to penalize somebody, how about the California politicians who got us into this condition in the first place? They got plenty of money. Gavin Newsom ain't broke. I think that he administrates a budget of over $200 billion last time I checked, and look how they're spending their money. Gay Men's Chorus and all these other whacked out environmental policies they have that are costing people in terms of their property and in some cases their lives. So bravo to you, Viva Fry. That's another leftist for you suggesting, giving his suggestion of how to solve a problem. Of course, that's how Democrats think, folks. The solution for every problem in the Democrat mind is to tax rich people. The evil rich, of course, they're not paying their fair share. So you got to tax them and get that money from them that we all know they got by unscrupulous ways, right? It's just ridiculous. I mean, you see how these people think when they have bankrupted poor Rudy Giuliani. God bless that man. And look at these hundreds of millions of dollars worth of fines they levied on Donald Trump. It's just ridiculous. They ruined Alex Jones. Hopefully this is going to change. Now, let me move on to something else. I was talking to Marina about that, about this morning. As you know, Donald Trump has been throwing some things at us here lately, right out of left field, or right field, I guess it would be, that have had some of us, including me, scratching our heads, pardon me. Oh, that's good coffee. I mean, he has been talking about things like the United States making Greenland the 51st state, or the United States making Canada a state, or the United States taking back the Panama Canal, or the United States changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. Now, I have to confess to you, every time up until today, up until this very day, when I hear Trump talking about us taking over Greenland and taking over Canada, I kind of cringe a little bit, and I'm thinking, man, Don, come on, dude, get serious. Let's get a grip here and let's get back to reality. And Marina said to me this morning when I was telling her this, she said, you know what? Donald Trump is a visionary. And I said, say on. She said, Donald Trump is a real leader. This is what real leaders do. And I got to tell you, I got to thinking about that. And I'm here to tell you that she is exactly right. Donald Trump is a leader. Of course, I've known that. He is an alpha male. He is a true visionary. I think the problem with me is we haven't had any leadership in this country for literally decades, so we no longer know what it looks like anymore. It's like we've been looking at the mountain, this tall mountain for decades, not thinking anything about it, and all of a sudden Trump comes along, somebody like Trump comes along, and he says, hey, let's go scale that mountain. Wait, what? What are you talking about? Scale that mountain. Now look, I've got to tell you, I don't know how serious Donald Trump is about making Greenland a state. I don't know how serious he is about bringing Canada into the country as a state or reclaiming the Panama Canal. But you know what, folks? I'm just going to come out and say it. So the hell what? Go for it, man. Go for it. Why not? We could at least make them a possession, if not a state. Whether you agree with this or not, this man is bold. He is unafraid. He is saying, follow me, boys. Let's go scale that mountain. Maybe it is a good idea to get Greenland. He's saying it is for, military purposes and strategic purposes, whatever. Maybe it is a good idea to go and get Canada and bring them in. I will tell you this. I agree with him about the Panama Canal. I will remember when Jimmy Carter virtually did give it away to Panama. This is a canal that 38,000 Americans lost their lives on in the process of building it. They got malaria, a lot of them. We left a lot of American blood and treasure. The thing cost in today's money $1 trillion to build. And this feckless Jimmy Carter just says, here, you can have it. Well, what's happened, and Trump is right about this, what's happened with the canal is it's basically been co-opted by China. I don't think any American, even those who agreed with Carter, would say, okay, we're going to give it to Panama, but in a few years, you can go ahead and turn it over to China. I don't think so. I disagreed with Carter when he gave away the canal. It was absolutely wrong for him to do that, in my opinion. And Trump is basically saying now, we're going to take it back. You're not going to turn this thing over to China. This thing that was built with the blood of Americans, you're not going to turn it over to China. We're coming and we're going to take it back again. I don't know how serious he is about all this, but look, Trump, as we know, is a deal maker. He may just be posturing himself so that he, like I said in the previous video, you ask big, you ask way up here, maybe what you want is about here, but you ask up here, or you say, or you make your demands up here. And that's how you start negotiations. And Trump is a master at this. There's no question about that. He is the ultimate deal maker. So I don't know what's going to happen with Greenland and Canada and the Panama Canal. But I'll tell you what, I bet you the end result is that we put a damper on Chinese activity at the Panama Canal, in which case that would be a strategic win for us. I don't know what's going to happen in Greenland. I have no idea how that's going to shake out. But this is Kennedy-esque, if you ask me, folks. It was John Kennedy who stood in the well of the House and said, by the end of the decade, we're going to put a man on the moon. And when he said it, there were probably a lot of people that were reacting to that the same way that I reacted to Trump saying all this. A man on the moon, what are you, nuts? I get it. I know a lot of you are saying we didn't really go to the moon. Okay, well, that's another video, right? But that's how visionaries talk. That's how leaders talk. They challenge you. They reach out and grab you by the shirt collars and they say, we can do this. We will do this. We're Americans and we're going to go for it. We haven't had that. I don't know when we've had it. We certainly hadn't had it in, 30 years, 40 years? I mean, the previous presidents we've had, their vision was to just go and make war with people and put us all into the doldrums and bankrupt us. That's not leadership. That's not being a visionary. Visionaries look at that mountain and say, we're going to scale that thing. They call you to great things that maybe you don't think you can actually accomplish, but they say, yes, you can. We can do this, and we're going to do it. This is impressive. This is impressive. You remember that he said, we're going to change the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. And I'm thinking, well, hell, why not? I mean, for the past, Lord knows how long, the Democrats have been changing the names. Because I asked Marina, I said, how can we do that? How can we change the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America? She said, well, how did the Democrats change the name of our military installations? They just did it. And she's right. So why couldn't we change it to the Gulf of America? I got to admit, I like it better than the Gulf of Mexico. It looks better on the map to me. When I went to pick up my cargo trailer last week, I drove back by Columbus, Georgia, and I stayed one night at a hotel there. I shot a video there at the hotel. And I drove past what is now called Fort Moore. It's an Army installation. Huge military base. My father was stationed at what was then called Fort Benning. Fort Benning was changed by the Biden administration to Fort Moore. He just did it. He just changed it. Because he could. Fort Bragg in North Carolina is now called Fort Liberty. Just changed it. Didn't take a vote on it, just did it. So apparently you can do these things. And I thought to myself, what would my father say if I were able to tell him, you know, your Fort Benning is not Fort Benning anymore. And of course the reason given is these installations, Benning, Bragg, these were named after Confederate military figures. So we can't have that. You know, the North did some of these conciliar things after the war to basically throw the South a bone. It was a decent thing they did, and it was appropriate. And now here comes Joe Biden and saying, no, you can't even have that anymore. So I'm thinking, as long as we're going to change names, why don't we change those names back? As long as we're going to change some names, why don't we change Fort Liberty back to Fort Bragg, Fort Moore back to Fort Benning, and how about we put some statues back up, for heaven's sakes, of General Lee, who was a good and he was a great American. General Robert E. Lee was a good man, a graduate of West Point. He lived in Virginia. He could have gone with either side during the war, but he went with Virginia. And you know what? You know why he went with Virginia? It's not so much. We could talk about his feelings on the South's positions in the war, but the bottom line was this. The northern invaders were in his state, and he felt obliged to defend his state, his homeland. So anyway, I say let's go ahead with all this. Let's go ahead with Trump's ideas, and let's change those names back and bring the statues back. That'd be fine with me. I've just got one more suggestion for President Trump. If it were President Tim, I can go along with all of this. But here's something else a true visionary, which Mr. Trump is, should consider doing. And I've been saying this for a long, long time. Instead of getting NATO to pay their bills, which is something he's famous for doing, instead of doing that, why don't we just end NATO? Because, folks, NATO is completely irrelevant. It serves no purpose whatsoever. It was cobbled together after the Second World War. But, that's been, 80 years at least? It's no longer relevant if you ask me. I mean, we are allies in terms of NATO alliances with Turkey, for heaven's sakes. We're also allies with Israel. Do you think Turkey and Israel are friends? So NATO is just completely irrelevant, and I say end it. If I were about to ascend to the presidency, that would be on my agenda as well. So there you go. All right, let me move on to a strange story I wanted to share with you. I was trying to be a little more lighthearted on the weekend, but stuff's constantly happening, and that's just not always possible. But listen at this. Listen at this. This is a true story. It was widely reported in all the major news outlets. This happened on December 9th in Lunenburg County, Virginia. A Virginia man died after a hunting incident with a bear. On December 9th, the Virginia Department of Wildlife Resources, DWR, was notified of an incident in Lunenburg County, Virginia. A group of hunters had tracked a bear up into a tree and retreated from the base of the tree before shooting the bear, the DWR said. One hunter in the group, a 58-year-old man named Lester Harvey, was standing roughly 10 feet from the tree where the bear was shot, the DWR said. When the bear fell from the tree, it landed on Harvey. The DWR said a member of the hunting group rendered first aid until fire and EMS arrived. Harvey was taken to a hospital for medical treatment, and he died from his injuries 4 days later on December 13th. The DWR said no charges will be filed in the incident. That's a rough way to go. I'm sorry, Mrs. Harvey. How did your husband die? A bear fell on him. You don't hear that every day. Now don't be laughing. It's not funny. I did laugh because when I first started, because I heard this on the radio and I went and looked for it, and sure enough, it's true. I thought it was a joke. It ain't no joke. Ain't no joke. But this is a joke. Now, I found this just at random on social media. I don't know the person who posted this, but it's really resonated with me. This is a list of things you need to know if you move to the South. And I've looked over this list and I can verify this to be true. So those of you that are north of the Mason-Dixon line or in some other country, pay attention. If you want to move south, you need to know these things. Okay, here we go. Number one, things you need to know if you move to the South. Number one, a possum. A possum is a flat animal that sleeps in the middle of the road. That's true. Number two, there are 5,000 types of snakes, and 4,998 of them live in the South. There are 10,000 types of spiders. All 10,000 of them live in the South, plus a couple nobody's ever seen before. Number four, things you need to know if you move to the South. Number four, if it grows, it'll stick you. If it crawls, it'll bite you. Number five, onced and twiced are words. I went over there once or twice. Twiced. Number six, it is not a shopping cart. It is a buggy. Number seven, I'm sorry. Number seven, Jawp, Jawl-P. Jawp means, did you all go to the bathroom? That's true. Number eight, people actually grow, eat, and like okra. That's absolutely true. Fried okra, my goodness, it's a delicacy. Number nine, fixin' to is one word. It means I'm going to do something. I'm fixing to cut my grass. I'm fixing to. Another one that's not on this list is awful good. Honey, did you enjoy your banana pudding? Oh, it was awful good. Well, which was it? Awful good means it's good. Number 10, there is no such thing as lunch. There is only dinner and then there's supper. That is true. You know, my grandmother, when we would go to visit my grandmother, my maternal grandmother, Mama Lila, over in Elberton, Georgia. There's a video on my channel of Elberton. Her big meal of the day was lunch, but what she called dinner. She would cook breakfast and then keep cooking all morning. And her big spread on the table was for lunch, which she called dinner. Y'all come on, let's have dinner. And I mean everything you can imagine. Fried chicken, every vegetable, everything you can imagine would be on her table for dinner. And supper was just leftovers, right? There's something to that, I guess. Number 11, iced tea is appropriate for all meals. That's true. And you start drinking it when you're 2. Being your baby bottle. We do like a little tea with our sugar. It is referred to as the wine of the South. That is true. I wish I could still have it. You know, I don't have any of this stuff anymore. Number 12, backwards and forwards means I know everything about you. I know that fella backwards and forwards. Number 13, the word jeet, J-E-E-T, the word jeet is actually a question meaning, did you eat? Hey, jeet? Yeah, I had a hamburger. Number 14, you don't have to wear a watch because it doesn't matter what time it is. You just work until you're done or it's too dark to see. Number 15, you don't push buttons, you mash them. That's true. Mash a button. Get on the elevator. Hey, buddy, how about mash that button for me? Number 16, y'all is singular. All y'all is plural. That's true. Number 17, all the festivals across the state are named after a fruit, vegetable, grain, insect, or animal. Number 18, you carry jumper cables in your car for your own car. That's absolutely true. Number 19, you only own 5 spices: salt, pepper, Cajun seasoning, Tabasco, and ketchup. I like mustard. Number 20, the local papers cover national and international news on one page, but require 6 pages for local high school sports, motorsports, and gossip. That is absolutely true. Number 21, everyone you meet is a honey, sugar, Miss first name, or Mr. first name. Miss Juanita, Miss Beverly, Miss Mary, or Mr. So-and-so. That's just an honorific term of respect. Number 22, you think that the first day of deer season is a national holiday. That's true. Number 23, you know what a hissy fit is. Boy, I do. Number 24, fried catfish is the other white meat. Number 25, we don't need no dang driver's ed. If our mama says we can drive, we can drive. And finally, why did the chicken cross the road? To show that stupid possum that it can be done. There you have it. If you're planning on moving down here, you need to know these things. So I'm just here to serve my fellow man, right? Hey, thanks for joining me, everybody. Make sure you give me a thumbs up for the video. Subscribe to the channel if you have not. All the relevant links are down below. And thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you soon.